What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the RXP podcast. This is episode 115, 115 podcasts in the books. I'm, of course, Matt, and I am joined by some of my co-hosts, Alex.
I'm ready for that summertime madness.
That sweet, sweet summertime madness. Tiffany, are you ready for the madness?
I think I'm locked and loaded.
Locked and loaded. Yasser, how you doing, my friend?
I'm great. I just want to remind everyone that this is a technical presentation and not actual gameplay.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Shout out to CD Projekt Red for your Witcher 4 presentation earlier this week. That's kind of crazy, right? It's not gameplay. It's just using the assets in Unreal 5. Is that
Right.
what it shaped out to be?
Yeah, they explained it like this is a tech demo within The Witcher 4's world rather than actual gameplay from the game. So a lot to be seen
And
still.
here-
A lot of questions to answer.
Here I thought, The Witcher was a fantasy universe and that they didn't have, assets and a technical world within it. But it looked interesting. It looked honestly really good. And then I saw there was like a bunch of tweets and stuff, and I was like, oh gosh, guess not. CD Projekt Red did us again. The D is
Were the
for
tweets
deception.
about that
That's
part,
what
or like
CD
what were they
stands for.
complaining about? Honestly, I didn't even see.
They were basically just like complaining like, they're deceiving us again, everybody. Remember, don't pre-order games. There's always those people that are just chanting.
I mean,
they got wronged one time.
I'm on that boat personally, but to me, I'm not gonna like go on a huge deep dive here, but I didn't think it looked too crazy where I thought it was unbelievable. A game that I talked about recently, Hellblade 2, very similar to that, but I think kind of downscaled because it's like an open world. To me, it looked completely believable that was running on a PS5. So I'm pretty excited.
Mm-hmm. So excited. Today, everybody, we're going to be talking about other games that we're excited about. This, of course, RXP Podcast. The podcast where four working professionals talk all about their love for movies, TV shows, and video games. And today we're going to be talking primarily about video games because, yes, that is right. We're going back to Fantasy Critic. For those of you, this has been a staple. Is this our fourth year on this Fantasy Critic? Is that right? Fourth, maybe fifth? Fourth.
Yeah.
Fifth year.
This has been a great part. Is this the fifth year? Oh
no,
my
I think it's the fourth year because we
we've
started in
all-
2020 and we didn't start playing Fantasy Critic until the fall on the year came up.
This is my second year, so if that helps at all.
I think
Yeah, so this will be the fifth year because we have 2021 through 2025.
Yeah, because you guys had 3 years before me. Yeah, I think that makes sense. Or that sounds right.
We can see our league
I
history.
know.
It
Have
goes
we
back
all
to
won
2021.
once?
Not me.
So for those of you that may have not, been in the know so far about this, Fantasy Critic, if you've ever played fantasy football, fantasy baseball, fantasy basketball, hockey, I honestly don't know how people do fantasy baseball. There's how many games? 180 games? Please. I can barely do 17 NFL games. This is very much like that, but it puts you in the seat of the publisher. You are drafting unreleased games, and basically as good they do on Metacritic or OpenCritic, the higher they do, the more points you get. The person with the highest points wins the big pot. I think, Alex, I think you've won twice. Tiffany, you've won once, and I've won once. And then Yasser, this is only your second year, so you're still
fair.
new to the process. Yeah, very fair.
Yeah.
And man, this is we've done a lot of things since draft. I've kind of been keeping tabs on how everybody's draft. We drafted how many of these? Maybe 6? Is that right? Roughly?
That sounds right.
Maybe a handful
7
of these titles.
Didn't we do 7?
And ever since then,
Yeah, it
people
was
have
7.
been busy.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair. So, ever since then, we have been drafting away. We have been putting bids, trying to take them away from each other. And there's two school of thoughts, it looks like. Because looking here, it looks like 2 of our teams are completely booked. No space on our bench at all. Yeah. And then there's two people they're believing in Summer Game Fest and knowing that the ripe fruits are ready to be plucked sometime in the summer and the fall. How are you guys feeling about this year? Alex, you've won twice. You think you're going to three-peat? Or not three-peat, but have a third title under your belt?
At this point, Matt, I really think it's going to come down to what I choose to fill out the rest of my roster with. And that's why I've been waiting. Spoilers, I'm one of the teams that hasn't completed their roster yet. Mostly because, sometimes there's a lot of late, surfacing games that are like, we didn't announce until the summertime, but surprise, we're actually going to come out in the fall, right? Like it's not like a summer announcement to like an early spring next year release. So that's basically what I'm banking on at this point. We're in this season of announcements, so this usually early summers when a lot of things that have a chance of coming out this year are getting announced. So that's what I'm banking on. And if there are some good heavy hitters to be announced, I think I can manage through. I've had a kind of middling start, I would say, compared to all of y'all's teams, but maybe we can pull through at that by the end of the year.
Yasser, second year in, the first year, anything can happen, right? You finished better than I did. I was dead last. You joined the fray, and I looked like the rookie. I don't even think I had triple digits last year. Second year. Because you're one of the teams that have filled it out. Was that intentional this year?
That's right. I don't think it was intentional. I will say I liked games to add to my roster pretty quickly afterwards. And so it just it kind of happened naturally. I didn't really kind of rush to it, but before I knew it, I was like, oh, I'm out of spots. And honestly, I really gotta say, I feel like I didn't draft well up top this year. And so that's going to hurt me a lot, I feel. It's going to hurt me a lot. But we're going to see if I can get some late round gems, because that's basically what I have to bank on is some late round gems. Because my early hits like Civ 7 and Night Rain, they're just not hitting. Like I would expect the top two picks to hit.
Yeah.
But ultimately, my publisher motto is we release games, and you know what? My games are releasing. Okay, that's all I can tell you.
That's true.
That's right.
We release games.
That is true. It's like these are games. They may not be great games, but they are games. That is correct.
For like critically acclaimed at least. Yeah.
Now, Tiffany, you're the third member I'm going to be talking to today because you are, you haven't filled out all your spots. But one thing you have filled out are these counter picks. You, unfortunately, well, we're going to know how much of this is going to hurt in the coming days because you did counter pick Mario Kart World on draft night.
I did.
May your team rest in peace. But then you counter pick something else. Walk me through that.
So I counterpicked a game called Crimson Desert, and I counterpicked it because I didn't know what it was, and neither do what other people.
One.
No, first of all, it's a new gaming franchise, so who knows? This is a wild card. We don't know if this is gonna be good or bad. So here's my thing: I was hedging my bets. If we don't pick another counterpick, we lose like 10 or 15 points. So I was hoping that this would either not come out because it doesn't really have a release date, or it's just not going to find its footing. You know what I mean? Because it's brand new. I mean, listen, Alex, I don't think this is a Cult of the Lamb situation here, okay?
Okay.
We had to bring it up.
Am I allowed a defense here?
Yeah.
I would love for you to defend your honor. Because this is yours. Crimson Desert is yours.
Yes. So, obviously, Tiffany's correct. This is not a situation like a couple of years ago where I drafted. In my initial draft, mind you, this was my start of the year drafting. I drafted a little known game called Cult of the Lamb. And my co-hosts here were like, what the hell is that? I don't know what that is. and they, basically didn't believe in it. And that counter pick led to bite them in the behind because it scored positively, and they lost points because of it.
Yep.
And so
A ton.
I felt like, Matt learned his lesson there. I felt like there should have been a mantra here where when you look at what I draft, especially, things towards the beginning, you
please
probably should try to avoid things you've never heard of, because here I am, I'm out in the trenches, and I'm looking at these small games.
It's
and
deep in the sauce.
Yeah. Little do you know. So yes, Crimson Desert itself is technically a new IP, but it is from the developers of the widely successful Black Desert Online franchise, or like online MMO action game.
Oh, yeah. I've
So
seen that a lot.
technically, you could say it is in the quote-unquote desert franchise, I guess, or universe. But it is essentially a single-player version kind of spin-off of Black Desert Online. So I would just like to, warn you, you counterpicked it. You've counterpicked both of my games. One, you thought because it wasn't going to happen, which is, that was
now
a surefire bet,
preposterous.
sure. Yeah. And then the other you picked because you just didn't know. And now let's see if both of these will come back to bite you, just like how Cult of the Lamb bit Matt back 2 years ago.
So, to be fair here, okay? In Tiffany's defense, first of all, Crimson Desert was not a top pick of yours.
Thank
It was
you.
actually your most recent pick. And number two, this is coming from the guy who just lost 17 points on counterpicking Xenoblade. All right, let's calm it down a little bit. All right.
I guess that's true.
That was rough. That was rough for you.
The original game wasn't received well. I just didn't think that the remaster would have done any better. But, I was proven wrong.
Yeah, never
That's
bet
fair.
against Xenoblade. It's kind of like betting against Nintendo. Right, Tiffany?
Oh my
Moving on.
gosh.
So my team all filled out everything. Everything's filled out, including my counter picks. And honestly, this goes to kind of Tiffany's thought of, if I didn't counter pick something and I was stuck with it on my bench, I knew I was going to lose 15 points. And so I got lucky. I picked Fable. Fable, then right after we drafted, got announced that it was going to get pushed to 2026. Perfect. Logging in as 0 with my first counter pick. So I felt like I was in a good spot with my team. So I had heard some previews. Firebreak, FBC Firebreak, which is from Remedy, which is a dev team I love. I love Remedy. And I honestly, this is a multiplayer game, so maybe not super my jam. But if something were my jam, it would be something like Remedy's Firebreak. Heard some of the first rumbles. It sounded like this was a good game. I'm thinking 70s to 80s, and I'm willing to lose a little bit of points just in case. I just don't want to lose out on Clair Obscure, because let me be honest. When I saw Clair Obscure Expedition 33, I saw how beautiful it looked. This was an untested dev team. They had come from a large publishing or a large dev team, 30 people on their own. It looked really good. I'm like, but does it have the sauce? Does it feel good to play? This is now the best Open Critic score of the year. It got 92 points. So I'm glad I didn't go with my initial gut and go for Clair Obscure, and I went for Yasser's FBC Firebreak. So Yas,
We'll see if it
what
was
do you think about
mistaken or not.
Firebreak?
We'll see.
You drafted it. You drafted it.
Yeah.
So defend it.
Well, see, this is the thing with the things I draft. They're not necessarily going to be critical hits.
That's right.
For example,
They will release games.
they will release games. That's right. No, but a lot of the times, especially the ones that are not at the top of the list, because those are kind of straightforward to draft. You kind of have to pick the best available, if you know what I mean. But the later you go, that's when I start picking games that I want to play, right? So that's a game that I know I'm going to be playing, and I know I'm most likely going to be enjoying. And so it was an easy pick for me, because I knew it's going to release. I knew I'm going to want to play it, and it looks good to me. So I have no restraints on Firebreak right now. Although, to be completely honest, I never did a deep dive. So if you did like a decent dive on like to the gameplay and you're like, it doesn't look that interesting. Honestly, I might have to take your word for it because I haven't done that yet, but I've heard good things from people that I trust.
Yeah. Honestly, it might like come out and score an 80 and I'll lose 10 points, but I had to risk it for something because honestly,
It's better than
for
losing 17.
a lot of these games that are getting announced, a lot of them look really good.
Yeah.
I think there's some solid options out there overall. I'm not too worried about not having my second counter pick yet, especially since we still have 8 open slots from our 2 other teams there. So I'll take my time on that one. But the peak that the Firebreak can turn into, people say it has a lot of Left 4 Dead 2 vibes. So that's scary for me. Like when someone says it feels like Left 4 Dead, it's like I stay away from that. But you know what? We'll see how it turns out, Matt.
Yeah. So let's get into our individual teams a little bit. Because we've drafted so many of them. Definitely check out our episode where we live draft on the episode. You can kind of hear our thought process on why we chose some of the early ones. So you kind of have, behind or inside baseball, whatever that phrase is, for the initial picks. But for everything that happened after the fact, Alex, you've done, is it the first Berserker, Lost Soul Aside, Shinobi Art of Vengeance, and Crimson Desert? Were those the 4 new ones for you?
Yes,
Is that right?
those
Or
are
am
the
I
4
not
new
counting
ones.
correctly?
Yes.
How are you feeling about those? I honestly, I don't know what 3 of those are, and I don't counterpick things I don't know from your list because I am just so gun shy about Cult of the Lamb.
Hey, I mean,
it cost me like 20 points.
You learned that lesson, and that's great. And Tiffany's about to learn the lesson this year because of her counter picks.
Oh my gosh.
And Yasser will learn next year.
Oh, no.
Yeah, when I picked,
cycle of
honestly,
life.
a lot of things are coming out next year. I'm excited for next year's draft. I think 2026 is going to be a very spicy year for game releases, especially since we're going into second half of the launch year for the Switch 2. So who knows what Nintendo's cooking in the background for the spring 2026. But yeah, to go over the pickups. So first, Berserker Kazan. This is a single-player action game that's basically a Souls-like. It's based around checkpoints. It's based around kind of very difficult parry-based combat. It has an anime aesthetic. So I really drafted it thinking it would hit that crowd, right? And it seems, it scored an 81, so netting me 11 points. It seems like it landed, pretty good. Well. Yeah, like people enjoy it, which is where I was kind of going for. It was definitely one of those picks where I wouldn't necessarily play it myself, but I thought that it's good in the genre it's catering to, and it came through. I'll skip over Lost Soul Aside now because I have a little bit more to say about that. Shinobi Art of Vengeance, 2D action, like platformer essentially, but like linear action. This is, the older Shinobi games. Like this has a legacy, right? Like Shinobi as a series has been around since I think the like 90s, like mid 90s or something. So I picked it up. It looks really good, like just art wise. Like it's not a game that I would play myself, but I love the visuals. Like I think it's hitting on all cylinders, and I think it's definitely going to cater to the fans of that franchise. Score wise, I have no idea. This is more so kind of a blind faith pickup.
Can I talk about that pick real quick?
Yeah.
Funny story. I saw that game and I was like, this game looks like a lot of fun. I want to play this game because I grew up, like one of my first games I played on Sega was Shinobi. And I was like, I need to pick this game.
Really?
And
okay.
somehow, some way, I drafted Knights in Tight Spaces instead. I don't know how it happened. Don't ask me how.
Oh, man.
But I got that game, and then it released to a 76. And I was like, you know what? I'm not going to complain. That could have been a disaster. But
we
I'm
will
looking
release
forward
games.
To that pick. We will release games. Like sometimes as a publisher, you just walk into games.
I was wondering where Knights in Tight Spaces came from. I'm like, I listen to obscure podcasts. I've never heard of this game at all.
You guys just got some lore. All right, keep
Yeah,
going, Alex.
wow.
Sorry.
Yeah, honestly, I'm trying to reason here how you could type in, like, where the typing went wrong in the search for the draft.
I must have not been sober. I don't even know, man. I don't get it.
Did we try to draft it the same week? That also would have been interesting if we actually attempted the same week and see who would have outbid each other for that one. But
Yeah.
That's so funny.
So Yasser's
I'll
hard
look it up
pick
as you're doing
ended
it.
up becoming my pick, so I'll take it. Thank you, Yasser, for your sacrifice. At least you got 6 points though, so that's great.
I'll take it.
And the last one that I have drafted as of now is Crimson Desert. As I mentioned before, it's a single player action adventure from the Black Desert Online devs. This is similar to Shinobi, where it's like, well, in that it's more so a blind faith pick, but I am more interested in playing this because the initial trailers they showed made it seem like this was a game that didn't really take itself too seriously. Like, it's an action game, of course. It's got that medieval, like, magic kind of setting, right? Like, there's monsters, dragons, you're a knight in heavy clad armor, you're running around. But at the same time, there's a lot of weird kind of Breath of the Wild-esque, like, play going on in terms of like the interacting with the environment, like using objects to kind of place things into certain positions. Also just the movement, I think there's like grappling hooks and stuff. Like there's a lot of like ways you can traverse, and it looks like one of those things where I'm like, I don't know if I'll pick this up on release, but as it matures in the market, I feel like maybe this is like a 30 half off 33% off pickup. I'm like, that looks like I could have some fun with it. And so that's where I'm putting my faith into that. Like I said, I don't know if it's going to be at least an 80, but if it can be as good as Nights in Tight Spaces, I'll be happy.
Let the record show, on February 22nd, Nights in Tight Spaces was drafted with a bid of $0 on the same day that Shinobi Art of Vengeance was also bid for $0. Yasser had the waiver order. He would have gotten Shinobi Art of Vengeance if he didn't just fat finger it.
I mean, that's the biggest fat finger of
I
all
don't know how
time.
you did that. It's so funny.
What did I search?
Oh, man.
What did
That's
autocorrect
great.
fix?
That's really great.
Who knows?
I don't. Yeah.
Absolutely wild.
Alex, did you have to drop a game?
I did. I actually
Or no?
dropped GTA 6, if you noticed.
Okay, can I actually
Oh,
ask about
you were
that?
GTA 6.
I'm actually a little like confused about what happened with GTA 6.
Did you try to counterpick it?
Multiple people did. I thought it was like already too late. Like, I'm not even gonna bother. Some people did try. They couldn't. He couldn't drop it. And now I'm looking at the screenshot and it's gone. What happened? Someone explain this to me.
Well, I think Matt's looking at the history. I'm not sure if. Wait, are you saying in general, like people using Fantasy Critic weren't able to drop it or counterpick it?
No. I'm talking about us. I
Yeah,
saw some people
so on
tried
May-
to counterpick
on May
it.
3rd.
They couldn't. Oh yeah.
I tried to counterpick it, but since it was already set to release out of 2025, you couldn't count. You can't counterpick something that's out of the 2025 window. So if I counterpicked the week before it was announced to go to 2026, I would have gotten it. So
That's
then no one
crazy.
would have. Yeah.
So he can
Because
still
then,
drop it,
you
but you
s-
can't counterpick it.
Yep, he did. Yeah. So he waited
Fascinating.
2 weeks after that and then was like, get out of my face. He was waiting for them to be
okay.
like,
I
just kidding,
assumed-
everybody. It's coming in October.
Yeah. I thought because he didn't counterpick or didn't drop it the first week or two that he couldn't, but I guess he just didn't try. And so other people tried to counterpick, didn't work, and then he eventually dropped it.
Yeah.
I see.
Okay, so good to know.
That's
There's like
fascinating.
a shield on those do not releases in those cases, but
Once
anyway.
they happen or get announced. Yeah.
Yeah. Once the system locks that in, it's officially there. So good to know. It was more so, I guess, I'll be honest, just me forgetting to drop it. So definitely, if that system wasn't in place, you guys would have locked me in for that big fat 0 points on that. But thank you, Fancy Critic devs, for that failsafe.
Yeah. That's going to be the future number one pick of the 2026 Fantasy Critic at RXP podcast. Like it is, there is no doubt that that's going to be
Or
the
will
number
it be
one pick.
the first counterpick?
Oh gosh.
Ooh, ballsy. I love it.
That sounds
It
like
ain't
a
coming
Tiffany
out.
counterpick.
Tiffany
No,
counter pick.
It's not coming out in 2026, y'all. It's coming out in 2027. I called
That's
it.
right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Heard
Or
it here
you
first.
counterpick that next year. You go ahead and do that, Tiffany.
No thanks.
and yeah.
Tiffany, you want to talk about your team? Because
Oh wait, I was gonna go back to my last one.
were you? Oh, well, Crimson Desert. You kind of already talked about it a little bit. but
Oh
you can
no,
go ahead.
Lost Soul aside, because I skipped over it.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so Lost Soul aside. Now I have a long history with this game, and by long history, I mean I played a demo of this very game coming out in end of August back in December of 2017. So almost
wow.
What?
8 years ago, I played a demo of this. So the developer, who at the time was a solo developer, a single guy, he brought it to the PlayStation Experience event that was being held in Anaheim, California in 2017. And I was able to play a 2 boss fight demo of it. So you had like 2 boss fight sections that were playable on the show floor. And essentially at the time when it was first announced, it was basically advertised as an action-inspired Final Fantasy game. So it's like this developer's take on saying, what if Final Fantasy was full action? Little did we know, in the meantime, Square Enix was like, let me just do it myself and release a full action Final Fantasy. But yeah, so this was inspired by stuff like Final Fantasy 15. You know, if you look at the main character, he looks just like Noctis, right? Kind of dark, short hair, has a black outfit, uses a sword as his primary weapon, that kind of stuff. But yeah, this game is finally coming out 8 years later. It is, I think the closest comparison is something like a Final Fantasy 16 or Devil May Cry, where it is heavily action, oriented. You're not necessarily getting ratings on your combat performance, but it's all about the flashy moves. It's all about the dodges, the parries, and it has that, wrapped up high fantasy, like magic type of story going on. We're probably going to kill another god in this game too, just like every Final Fantasy. So this is definitely a heart pick for me, that I truly believe in it, because when I played that demo 8 years ago, I thought this was going to be a fun game. And I can only hope now, 8 years later, that with this developer getting more like an actual dev team behind him and finally getting it to market, that it does succeed. And so there you have it. Don't counterpick it. I'm letting you guys know now. Don't counterpick.
That's crazy. That's honestly crazy that you played it that long ago, and now it's a game that's being published by Sony. That's wild.
Yeah, that's
how far he's come.
Very, very crazy. And that it has a release date is pretty awesome. Like August. Settled. That's pretty awesome. You also, I see now that you, I guess, picked up Marvel 1943 Rise of Hydra. Did you draft that on draft night? Because you also dropped that, it looks like.
Oh, yeah. I drafted that after the fact, I think.
Put to 2026.
Yeah, that also got pushed out. So yeah, I did drop that because that was officially announced too. So yeah, most of my team changes in the meantime have been drops because a lot of things I believed in have been pushed. But that's how 2025 goes, I guess.
Yeah. Love it. Team's got a lot of places. You never know. We're about to get Summer Game Fest, so fall is ripe for the pickings for both you and Tiffany, because Tiffany, you also have 4 empty spaces just waiting.
Yes.
It looks like yours looks pretty similar to where you're at.
Listen.
Except you picked up Witchbrook, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4, and Kirby Air Raiders.
Yeah, so listen, I have spots open on my team. It's not from lack of trying. I tried to pick Donkey Kong Bonanza, and I was outbid by $3. I was devastated
$3,
when I didn't get it picked up. But anyway, yes, I picked up Witchbrook. It looks very cute. I think we saw a release date. It might have been in a Nintendo Direct. Might be still a window, not sure, but I kind of had my eye on that game because it looks like a magical Stardew Valley, but a smidge better looking in my opinion. I can't get behind the pixel art of Stardew Valley.
Great, yeah.
But Witchbrook looks just like, a half step above. I mean, it's still pixel art, but it still looks more beautiful to me. Anyway, also, people love Tony Hawk. And so I decided to take a stab at
They
getting
do, true.
3 and 4. I mean, I heard the 1 and 2 like remaster or remake or whatever was really well received, or people loved it. So that's why I was kind of banking in on that.
Yeah.
And then of course, after our like another Nintendo Direct, because my studio is called Nintendo DS, I had to pick up Kirby Air Riders. If Masahiro Sakurai is going back to the little pink puff, then I'm also going behind him. Also, Alex was very excited about that one. So
Yeah.
I was like, he's a picky
I'm not
boy.
counterpicking it.
Really?
I'm not
Okay.
counterpicking it.
Yeah. So if he's excited, we can only hope. And also, come on, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate was a freaking masterpiece. So
It was. Yeah, I know a lot of people say I have no like nostalgia for Kirby Air Riders, right? Or Kirby Air
yeah,
Ride.
me neither.
We have Mario Kart now. We have Mario Kart World that's coming out pretty soon. And in my mind, I'm like, will I be in the mood for another racer? And I know that has been a popular opinion, and it's also been a popular opinion to kibosh because people are like, they're way different. You can't even associate them together. I guess you guys grew up with Kirby Air Ride?
Oh yeah.
Yep. He
Like
grew up
what is
with
it?
Kirby
Is it like
Air Ride.
a battle racer or what?
Honestly, great question. I just have a vivid memory of
Alex
the game
just
case
really hated that question so much.
that he walked out of frame. No. He's probably going to bring
he just walked
the
out
case.
the frame.
Yeah, he's gonna bring
Yeah,
the
he's
frame.
bringing a prop for sure.
Yeah.
Yep. Here we go.
Wow. Look at that for GameCube. They said physical media is dead.
No, he's
Not in their
showcasing the
house.
yeah. He's
Nuh-uh.
showcasing it. I mean, Alex, you like that? Did I
so
play
for all
that game
you
with you?
audio listeners,
Yeah, so I brought over the physical copy. I don't know if you actually played this with me or not, Tiffany, because I feel like I did just play it by myself, even though it is a multiplayer game. I would say it's so yes, there is racing in this. Like racing is the primary kind of game, but what sets it apart is what the main mode of Kirby Air Ride is basically called like City Battle. And so it's essentially, like you mentioned before, it's almost like it was a battle royale before like the actual battle royale genre was popularized. You were put in, like you and 3 other players, so basically up to 4 players, were put into a city map, and essentially you'd roam around doing like challenges in the map, upgrading your vehicle, like upgrading your star, upgrading your wheel. And essentially it was a competition to get your vehicle upgraded as much as possible during the time limit. You would then have racing segments in between these open world segments where you'd essentially race each other with your upgraded vehicles, and it'd be this kind of battle royale elimination style where the last place racer got eliminated, and it would keep going in these rotations until you had 1 racer remaining. And so that being the core mode of this game was definitely very interesting because it wasn't just like a pure racer. Like there was this kind of like actual direct like combat competition going on. And besides that, it does have a lot of just other random modes. Like there is a top-down racing mode. So if you imagine those kind of like top-down view perspective where you're driving like with the stick, like there isn't like a gas or brake, but you're kind of like pushing the stick in a direction, and that's where your car goes. Like that type of racing game. Like it has a mode like that in it. Like, and there's so many different like racetracks just for that mode. And so it's like it's really a weird amalgamation of a bunch of different racing adjacent mechanics that kind of come together in its own experience. And so the fact that this was the only game, right, that Sakurai made back in like, I forget when this came out, like 2001 or something, and that, right, part of the Switch 2 announcement, and they ended it with, right, like they ended the Switch 2 kind of release video like discussion saying, listen, here's the sequel to that coming within the calendar year, I think says something. So even though we haven't seen any more of Air Riders yet, I would imagine it still has that same like, hey, listen, I know we got Mario Kart coming out, and for most people that's all they're going to need, But if you want something that's slightly different, that's not just pure raw racing or kart racing even, this is there for you too. And I'm definitely like in on this. Like I want to see what he's cooked up, right? Because he's had more than 20 years to think, maybe if I were to make another one, how could it be different? And so I'm definitely excited to see what comes out of that.
So it's completely online multiplayer, right?
I don't know. I mean, the GameCube version was all local. Yeah. The GameCube was all local.
Yeah, GameCube is different. Yeah, we know that. But for this one, we don't know yet what the like number of players or the online capabilities are yet.
Yeah, they've only showed that CG trailer during the Game Awards 2024. So literally, there's zero. Like, if Mario Kart can do 24 players, like who knows? Like maybe this thing has like 100 players. Maybe it ends up being like a Tetris 99 style battle royale or something like that. Who knows? But if it does,
that'd be wild.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of potential. Like, it really is up to Sakurai's kind of desires, right? Like what he wants it to be. And so that's what makes me excited too, to just be like, listen, I have zero expectations for this game. I just like, if he just makes a fun game, like it could be barely recognizable. Like it could be Kirby Air Ride in name only. And as long as it's a fun time, like I'm there for it.
Love it. Yeah. I think you sold me. It sounds more akin to like a Twisted Metal. So I could be down. And by the holiday, I'll be wanting something to do with my Switch. I have a feeling. So I'll be ready for it. All right, Squirtle Squad. I want to know, you've filled it in. You started with 7 and now you're full, man.
Yeah.
We know all about nice and tight spaces, so you can skip that one.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, we've gone over that one. But can I ask a quick question about one of Tiffany's picks?
Yeah,
is Tony Hawk not just a remaster?
I'm guessing it's a
remake according to us.
Yeah. It's a remake.
Yeah, I don't know. It must be different than 1 and 2, because like 1 and 2, they just felt like they were the same game, but like remastered and like updated. I guess it's different for 3 and 4. Have you guys heard about this at all?
No. I just heard it was coming out, so I picked it.
That's fair.
I feel like I guess since they had to use different assets, like, because there's no way that they're just going to like back extrapolate this from that early gen of console, that maybe it's a remake. We'll get to it when we get to one of my picks, which has like a flag next to it because supposedly there was a debate on the Fantasy Critic Discord of whether it's a remake or remaster. So I feel like we're getting pretty loose with these terms. I would like to propose to Video Game Congress that we define these things because it's getting out of hand.
I'm with you. Yeah. Okay, so I think I left off at Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 on our draft day, and that was a great pick by me. I'm very happy with that pick, obviously, because it's my most successful pick of the year.
Yeah, 89. Sheesh.
And then, and since then, I've been just like gathering games that I want to play. And so that started off with South of Midnight, which I, again, will continue to say, I think it's better than a 77. I think it's a great game. But I also understand the gripes that people have with it as far as like the gameplay is super simplistic. So I get it. It's not like groundbreaking in any way, but the art, fantastic. And then right after that, I also drafted another game that I want to play, but I didn't get to just yet. And it's called Lost Records, Blue and Rage. This is a game that I could have sworn was like coming to Game Pass and PS Plus, and I was excited to play this right off the bat. And then as soon as I loaded up, I realized that it's stuck at 30 FPS, and it doesn't feel like a good 30 FPS, if you know what I mean. I'm not sure if you guys have tried it at all, but like to me, it just like felt too slow and like too jagged. I was like, wait, is this not coming out in Game Pass either? And it's not, so I can't play it on PC. And so I've just been waiting, and the reviews have been pretty middling. But I mean, honestly, I feel like Life is Strange kind of games, that's just how reviews go. Either they're going to love it or they're going to hate it. I still want to try it. I think the story did seem pretty cool. And honestly, if I get last place, you might see that solo review. So we'll see. We'll see. But that might be coming soon. Ninja Gaiden 4 was my next pick. I'm pretty sure I saw that around
so
the same
good.
time that I saw Shinobi. And so Ninja Gaiden 4 is a game that I think a lot of people are excited about. It's not a game or a franchise that I have personal history with, but I think it's going to do pretty well. At least that's my hope. And then the last three, FBC Firebreak, we kind of already talked about that. I think we can kind of skip that over unless you guys have any other questions about that. But the last two, Chronos New Dawn and Rematch, those are two that I just heard from like word of mouth kind of thing on the internet. And I liked what I saw. And funny enough, the first time I heard about Rematch specifically was when you almost got it, Matt. Do you want to tell us that story? Because it looked like you were trying to pick between a couple games, and you're like, you know what, I'll go for both of them and see what I get, right?
Well, so here's the thing. I wanted to make sure I had all my roster spots taken care of. Yeah. And so I ended up trying to pick up Rematch at the same time that I was picking up Ninja Gaiden Ragebound, which got announced at the same time as Ninja Gaiden 4. Ninja Gaiden 4, kind of like the new one, but Ragebound, the one to me that I think the freaks will like me, like the 2D art style, side scrolling.
The 2D
I think it's going to be really, really good. I couldn't decide. those sickos out there. I was thinking that someone was going to snipe Ragebound from me. And so Rematch to me was my backup plan in case somebody picked it up. Because I thought somebody would be bidding for any of these. And I'm actually surprised. I kind of got surprised I got all the games that I have because I just expected you guys to outbid me all the time.
I think I learned that
Rematch
pretty
looks great,
quickly. Yeah. No, keep going. Sorry, keep going on Rematch.
I saw some alpha footage. I think it was alpha footage, and it looks good. I honestly think Rematch is going to score really well for you. For those of you that don't know it, it is from the creators of Sifu, which I love. I love that game. But it's kind of more like a Rocket League soccer
but with
style.
People.
And
with
people, yeah. It looks really good. It looks pretty frenetic. It looks like you can definitely have like more interesting strategies than just regular like FIFA or soccer. So I'm pretty pumped for you because I think Rematch is going to play really, really well. And I think Chronos the New Dawn, that was also one that I was almost going to put in a bid for because that also looks really, really good.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we know that I'm a big Rocket League guy.
Mm-hmm.
And so Rematch, like immediately when I started like digging into it, I was like, oh yeah, this is a cool game. And I saw that there was a skill ceiling that is like more than what you'd anticipate out of a game like this. And so that was like, okay, this could have some legs like Rocket League did. And so I'm hopeful that the devs can pull it off because obviously this is kind of new for them, at least as far as I'm aware. But yeah, look at the pun there. But yeah, we'll see. I'm pretty excited about it too. And then lastly, my counter pick, I'm very worried about. I'm not gonna lie. All right, like this is something that I've said is just not coming out. And I'm not giving up hope on this counter pick yet because honestly, we saw it at the Nintendo Direct, right? But we saw like literally nothing. We saw like seconds of it. And then it just like, it was part of a sizzle reel and then it was gone. And then you didn't hear about it at all. They just confirmed, that was Silk Song. It's coming this year, but no date, no additional details. So I'm not giving up hope on it yet. I'm not convinced that it's coming out this year yet. But I do think, as a summary of what I'm seeing so far of all of our teams, I think counter picks are gonna be really important to how people like end up standing wise at the end of the year.
Yeah,
because everybody has significant counter picks that could, in one way or another, kind of burn them, right? And so it's gonna be interesting to see how those counter picks kind of play out. Because right now, like for example, Tiffany's doing great, but that Mario Kart world is gonna hurt, right?
Listen.
It's going on
So
record.
and
Yeah.
and no, and then Alex, like he also is doing great with the games that have released, but that counter pick he had also hurt. And so we're gonna see some of those other counter picks throughout the year too. I think it's gonna make a big difference on who ends up first versus third. And I think that kind of happened last year too. So I'm starting to realize that counter picks are more important than I give them credit for sure.
All I'm trying to say here is,
Yeah.
Yasser, it's okay. Just join me with the counter pick of the games of the year. You know what I mean? You and me are just gonna be scrounging around collecting. It's exactly like you wear a scrub top and you put a bunch of pens in your like pocket, and then you bend over to like pick something because you dropped something else, and then all your pens fall out. And it's just like me trying to collect my pens again. That's going to be us trying to collect and salvage our points after Silksong and Mario Kart World just demolish everything. It's like Kool-Aid manning our list.
Oh, that's a great expression. I just wanted to say, and this was the mantra I feel like I said when we did our drafts initially, like, and especially this is how I try to counterpick. It's typically counterpicking the things that don't come out. Like that's what you want to aim for, right? It's like locking in someone's pick because, right, that's a 0 for you, but more importantly, that's a 0 for them, right? Because you're locking the slot. Or it's actually even more than a 0 for them, right? Because that could be, plus like 10, 15 points depending upon what they replace it with. But yeah, it's always because we have to counterpick one when we do our draft. That's when it's like really difficult, right? When we're doing this in January. One. Yeah, it's very beginning of the year. You have no idea if these things are making it. Like they say it's coming out in the summertime. It's like, oh, it slipped to fall. It's like, oh, GTA, like we're coming fall 2025. Oh, we're slipping to May 2026. So it's a hard choice, but that's typically what I've tried to do. And that's where I'm like, yes. As long as you lock in a 0 for a counterpick, like no minus or plus, like that's the best place to be. Obviously, the best place is to earn points, but like, come on, we are typically drafting like good games, right? Like I can't remember. Actually, no, it was last year. I did succeed because of the Suicide Squad counterpick onto Tiffany's roster. I actually got points for that, so that was a good pickup by me.
Yeah.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
I mean, at the time, I didn't believe in the Switch 2 coming out. That's basically where my headspace was. That's where January Tiffany was, in a world without the Switch 2 in 2025.
That's crazy.
She wasn't in the Mario
If anyone
Kart
here's
that's crazy.
The thing about it is like you had a decision between an unannounced 3D Mario or Mario Kart, and you just chose the wrong one, unfortunately. But honestly,
that's true. Yep.
If I had to choose one, I was sold on the 3D unannounced Mario, and I even drafted it. And you know what, Yasser, you tried to counterpick it, but you're too slow because I was dropping it the same day, and thankfully got that out of there. Because when Kirby Air Ride came at the end of that Nintendo Switch 2 Direct, I was like, crap, there it goes. My golden goose, gone again. But luckily I was able to get rid of that initial one. My team, all the way filled out. So I'm pretty happy with my team so far. I've had a lot of games come out so far. I've got some hope that Hollow Knight is going to just destroy Yasser's hopes and dreams this weekend and get a release date, like maybe September time. We'll see. But I filled out my team with The Midnight Walk, Borderlands 4, Blueprints, The Eternal Life of Goldman, The Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion Remastered, hence I said remastered, but we'll get to that. Donkey Kong Bonanza, which is the best name in video games right now, and Ninja Gaiden Ragebound, which I already talked about. Honestly, it's kind of similar to Yasser. I put games on here that I'm interested in. This turns into my unofficial wish list. Between The Midnight Walk, The Eternal Life of Goldman, and Ninja Gaiden Ragebound, those are definitely more of the and Blueprints. Those are more of the indie games that are in these sizzle reels that I'm just like, I need to look into that. That art style captures me. The Eternal Life of Goldman and Midnight Walk are very, very similar. They have like a very nice art style, and I feel like that usually goes a long way with some of these indie games. And both of them hopefully will hit well. Blueprints, one of my like game of the years so far this year. I just heard some rumblings about it, and once I figured out how to spell Prince, I found it on Fantasy Critic. For the longest time, I was like Blueprints, like a print. But happy about that one. Great puzzle game if you guys are interested in that. Borderlands 4 and I didn't even say MLB The Show 25. These are ones that I like to call my boring. They're going to release, and you know what? I expect them to do something. Like, maybe upper 70s, lower 80s. That's where I expect these to be. Just trying to fill out my roster. But my heart came through with Elder Scrolls. I picked up Elder Scrolls Remastered. Did not even cross my mind that maybe this was an illegal move. I picked it up before it was announced. Like, it was the worst kept secret in video games for like a month. And so I was like, well, where there's smoke, there's fire. Let's just put it in. And so I did. And then it came out, and it was pretty good. Got an 82. But this is where I was kind of alluding to before. They have this flagged, this game, and they say, after extensive Discord debate, we have decided that this is a remake despite the name. It is not going to change, so you will need to override in your league if you disagree. And I am happy they had that debate, and I'm happy we agree, ? This is definitely a remake. Even though it's called a remaster, this is like from the ground up. They have kept some of the things that make an Oblivion game, but man, that game is just immaculate. I'm really happy with it. But this is just, like I said, my wish list. But my big spender, this is something that Tiffany was sad because she bid a measly $38
measly
on Donkey Kong Bonanza, and I came
Only
in
$38.
I came in with 4-0, baby. $40 for Donkey Kong Bonanza to basically get rid of my coffers. My coffers, they runneth dry. I have no money at this point, which is great. But Donkey Kong Bonanza, I'm here for it. I'm all gas, like we talked about last episode on Donkey Kong Bonanza. And that's my list. I'm really happy about it. I did pick up FBC Firebreak, so hoping for the best for that. Well, I guess the worst for that one specifically. But everything else,
can I say,
for
though,
the best.
Honestly, if I was bidding on anybody, like after everything we've seen so far, I honestly feel like you're in the best spot. And the only way I'd see you not winning is if a combination of two things happen. One, Silksong somehow bounces out of 2025. And if Firebreak is some sort of like gem hit. If those two things happen together, then I think it's anybody's game. But you have such a good lead right now because all the games that you've picked have come out with really like decent scores. Like they're at least 80, right? For all of these. So I mean, you're in a great spot
for all
so
of them
far.
so
I think
far,
you're in the driving position, Matt.
Yeah.
Just you wait.
Do your
just
thing
you wait.
This fall.
We're gonna come in. I'm gonna come with a blue shell any moment now. Just you wait. After I pick up all my pens.
I think if anyone should have a Mario Kart metaphor, it should not be you. All right.
How dare you?
Like you
and
you
Matt
threw
out
that
here
banana peel right in front of you.
timeline. He's out here getting Mario Kart somehow for $40 he's getting Bonanza here for $40 instead of $70 somehow. I don't know how he does it. He's found the cheat code. Also, though, for the Firebreak, since you brought it up again,
go ahead.
I'm interested in it also because it's launching like onto the PlayStation catalog. Like it seems like they are trying to get it out there. Like it's something that maybe doesn't necessarily have the sales power, but I think there is some confidence to be like, this is a multiplayer game that could have the legs, as you mentioned before.
Well, I think that's kind of key for a multiplayer game that's like a new IP of sorts, because you need to make sure it's as visible and accessible as possible, where you don't have to worry about like, do I have access to it? So number one, like any exclusivity. And number two, you don't even have to worry about buying it if you have Game Pass, PS Plus subscription, or Game Pass through PC as well. Like there's so many different ways to get this, and you can get it on every platform beyond those subscriptions. So it does seem like they're pushing a lot of their eggs into this basket, and that to me shows confidence. But I guess you could also see it from the other perspective, like, oh, maybe they don't think it's going to sell. Maybe that's why they're doing it. We'll see. But I think of it more as the former, and so we'll see how it plays out.
Talking just strictly away from its performance and how well it will do, I'm happy. I didn't watch the direct that talked about it being added to the catalog. I'm happy that it's being added to them, because in my mind, it was what, a year after Alan Wake 2 came out, my game of the year, my precious game of the year. It didn't turn profitable for months after its release. Like this is still an independent
and
studio,
partly
in that putting it on a catalog will help them be able to like pay for their studio going forward for Control 2 or whatever.
Yeah. And partly Alan Wake 2, like I would say part of the reason why it hasn't broken that, partly what you said, and the other thing being like Alan Wake in general as an IP is not like overly popular. But the other thing is it was exclusive to the Epic Store on PC. And that's a big deal for a game where like you are advertising the prowess and the advancement of technology through your game, but you're leaving out a big segment of the PC market. So they recouped it in other ways, but like I'm sure Epic, I don't know if they would have done the same thing if they would do it over again. But I don't think they're going to, I think they're learning from that mistake and doing the exact opposite this time around.
All this shows, all these games, we got some good games coming the rest of this year. Like this is already an all-timer for me. Like 2025 is killing it. Because I'll tell you, my two of my favorite games, I didn't really know much about coming into this year. So I think we're in store for a pretty great game, especially if some of these Nintendo Switch games like come off pretty well.
It definitely seems like it's an underrated year. Do you guys agree with that? Like it's not a year where there's the big hitters, but there's a lot of games where you don't really know too much about them. They're new IPs or IPs that you hadn't heard of, and it's been a great year for games, and it seems like it's been consistent throughout the year too. I can't wait to see what the second half of the year is going to look like.
Yeah, I would agree with that statement.
Yeah, I mean, I'm right there too. I think this is also important, like for the industry to show it's like, oh, it doesn't have to be the same like big name IP that carry the sales right every year. Like even though something like GTA was going to be coming out, but obviously that got pushed. Like we can have other great, like many great games come out, and also like you mentioned, at a great pace. It feels like basically every month, like we're getting at least like one like big, like well received title, like critically acclaimed, and that's like, man, I am falling behind in the backlog just from this year's releases, not including anything from like previous years where I'm like, oh yeah, I need to get to that, but first I gotta play some Clair Obscur right now, So
yeah. That's the thing. That's why, like, when you were talking about what to hit next for the game that you wanted to hit next, Yasser, like, I was telling you, like, don't sleep on Clair Obscur, because, like, it might get lost in the shuffle. But this is, like, a special game because 2025 is just hitting on all cylinders right now. And, like, two of my most anticipated games haven't even come out yet. Like, Death Stranding 2 is still 2 weeks away. Like, what the heck? It's a crazy year. Crazy year.
Yeah, us gamers are eating good right now for sure. I do feel like it's gonna potentially be remembered as the year that GTA didn't come out, because that's like the true console seller, if you know what I mean. But
yeah,
for gamers who are like gaming no matter what and don't care about these big IPs, we're eating good.
Oh yeah, eating good. Dinner's ready, everybody. All right, that is it. That is episode 115, talking about Fantasy Critic. We will probably wait until the end of the year and crown a champion. Anybody's game I think this weekend with Summer Game Fest happening, I think we'll probably shed a little bit more light on some of these titles with a little bit more unknowns. And hey, Tiffany and Alex, best of luck. You guys start putting in your bids for this Saturday. You two just duking it out in the same house. Crazy. No sabotaging
turn
each
off her
other's
devices.
computers, all right?
Yeah, I'll be like, oh, sorry, you don't have any internet right now. You can't make your draft.
Oh, that's so strange. He'll do the same thing that he did to Yasser, typing in nights in tight spaces too. All right, everybody,
Amazing.
That's episode 115. Like, subscribe, do all those things. Shout out to Grandmaster Doug, and we will see you next time.
And somehow, some way, I drafted Knights in Tight Spaces.
It's like Kool-Aid Manning our list.